Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Why must it always be a good evening?
I was just being polite. I'm Dr. Reed. I'd like to ask you some questions, if I may.
Don't like questions. Or doctors. And the name is Seymour Fishburne, if you must know.
Have you heard anything recently about Sean Hampton's shelter?
Called into the hullabaloo that could be heard coming from the building, I would say that all the local loonies are at his precious club.
Aren't you worried about the conditions here in London?
I've heard armed men have started patrolling the city, even killing the sick to stop the epidemic. Starting to like this city again.
What's your occupation?
I take care of my mum. That's what I do. She's the only good thing in my life. Even though I don't treat her so good.
Sometimes it's hard to be a good son.
I just want her to smile. No, I was thankful for her patience, appreciated like... God knows she deserves it.
You seem upset. Is something bothering you?
I lost the necklace I bought her. I'm a fucking idiot. A worthless idiot.
What can you tell me about this part of town?
A shithole filled with maggots. Liars and thieves, all of them.
Are you thinking about someone in particular?
Nope. Hate them all. Especially these petty, whining little shitbag beggars.
Is there no one who deserves your leniency then?
Well, Tom from our local is somewhat of a decent bloke. At least, unlike most maggots, he knows how to listen without opening his trap.
Goodbye, Mr. Fishburne. Hello, boy.
Hello. Good evening.
Did I scare you? You have nothing to fear from me.
No, it's just that people prefer to avoid me.
Well, I won't. I'm a doctor.
My name is Rufus, sir. Rufus Kingsbury.
What do you do around here, Rufus?
I listen to the news on the docks, sir. And I smile at those kind enough to spare me a bob.
Do you have a job?
It's hard to work, what with my head and all. Since I was a boy, I've always had trouble remembering what I do and why I do it.
What do people say about this place?
Things have been tense between the wet boot boys and the communists. They both feel they should run the docks.
What can you tell me about this region?
It's all about staying out of trouble. But since most people prefer to avoid me, it's pretty easy.
Why do people avoid you?
They call me Rufus the Curse. Around here, I'm a bit of a bad luck charm.
Have you ever thought about leaving?
Where else would I go? At least I know these streets and some people around here. This is my city, for better or worse.
Are you alone? Where is your family?
I don't have any. My parents are dead.
So you have no home? You're sleeping rough?
No. I mean, yes. I live on the streets. I have no home.
This city has abandoned so many of its children. It's tragic.
I've known worse. I'm not all alone. I have Mrs. Fishburne. She's been very kind to me.
Why do you think she's so considerate?
I can't say, sir. I guess she's a good soul. Sometimes it's like she replaces the mother I lost, even if we're not related.
Heard anything about Sean Hampton's shelter lately?
I rarely go near there, but rumour has it the place is restricted. Only members chosen by Mr. Hampton are allowed in.
Are you worried about the sanitary situation?
I never really felt safe in this town anyway. Now's the first time that everyone seems to feel the same way as me.
Is anything worrying you right now?
Gunshots. I hear them every night. Who's firing? Who are they shooting at? That's what's scary.
So long, Rufus. Be careful. Take care. Good evening, madam. It's Dr. Reed.
You best come back in the morning, Doc.
The disease takes away the good people too, madam. Why not let me in?
It's Mrs. Fishburne. Stella Fishburne. And yes, indeed. Why not let a doctor in? I can't remember the last time I had a good sleep. I've been nothing but worry.
It's locked.
So you have questions about the flu, then?
Yes, among other things.
Forgive my rudeness at the door. It's just my son doesn't like strangers coming in the house.
Do you have any news about Sean Hampton's shelter?
I heard you can't go there anymore unless you share his faith. A bit queer, don't you think?
Aren't you worried about the conditions around here?
Hate everywhere. The city will not sink because of this flu. It's the violence that will finish us all.
How is life around here?
Life has always been hard in the East End. But it's everywhere nowadays, isn't it?
Do you think the increase in violence has anything to do with the epidemic?
Don't know. But it's most likely linked to the gangs, if you ask me. Recently, it's like everyone has had to pick a side.
Violence has always fed on poverty, don't you think? It's a cruel law of the human condition.
And selfishness is their rotten fruit. These days, you can just die in the gutter and no one will bat an eye.
May I ask what you do for a living, Mrs. Fishburne?
Since my husband died, I worked at the Dawson Rope factory, but it closed before the war. I occasionally help at the night asylum, in exchange for food.
Did your husband die in the war?
Oh no, my Jack was a docker. He died when my Seymour was just a lad. The poor boy saw his dad slip and fall from that scaffolding.
How do you pay the rent, then?
My Seymour works at the docks, just like his dad. He's very attached to the house he grew up in. It's not always easy, but we get by all right.
The orphan that regards you as a mother. Please tell me about him, Stella.
You mean Rufus? I wish I could do even more for the poor boy. Most people are so selfish.
But you're not.
Years may have passed, but I haven't forgotten how it feels to go through days with nothing but an empty stomach.
Goodbye, Miss Fishburne. Take care of yourself.
I can't remember the last time.
I cannot enter.
Forget to keep an eye out for this garden. Something, sweetie. My guess is that
This is a slaughterhouse. It's locked, all right. From Seymour to my beloved mother Stella. Fishburne, that sneaky bastard. Good evening, Mr. Fitch.
Yeah.
I have retrieved the gift for your mother, sir.
Great. Give it here then and take this for your trouble.
I also found the corpses. The ones under which you left the necklace, Mr. Fishburne.
Ah, so that's where I left it. I can be a bit stupid sometimes.
Have you no remorse? You don't even deny your crimes?
I have many weaknesses, Dr. Reed, but lying about who I am ain't one of them.
You're not a mindless animal, Seymour. Surely you have something to say about these murders. Speak up and I will listen without judgment.
Could be right, Dr. Reed. Maybe it'll do some good to confide in a gentleman like you. You being educated and all.
Tell me about your victims, Seymour. Who were they? Why them? Was there a link?
Why should there be? They just kept getting on my nerves at the worst times, that's all.
How many? How many victims?
It's not like I keep records. It happens when it happens.
You feel nothing, do you? No empathy for your victims at all?
You seem pretty calm yourself, don't you?
We're not talking about me.
That right? Well, our calm's the only thing we have in common then.
Did you take pleasure in killing them, Seymour? All those people, all those lives extinguished.
I take no pleasure from it. Just gives me peace. Stills the anger. For a time.
This rage you feel, have you ever been able to control it? Resist it?
I tried. For my mum, I tried for her. Telling the truth made me feel better. For a while.
Don't you think you should seek help? Talk to someone you trust, someone who cares about you.
No. And don't dare speak about me to your colleagues either. Keep your mouth shut tight. Especially about my mum.
Why is your mother protecting you, Seymour?
I'm her son. She's the only one who knows me. Sometimes I think she knows me better than I know myself.
I understand you love her, but can't you see the awful situation you've put her in?
Do you think my mum would have a better life if I were dead? She seems so sad to know me sometimes.
I understand your mother's situation. Obtaining justice at the price of betraying her own flesh. It's quite a dilemma.
It might be my mum's wish that I end up swinging from a hangman's noose. But she wouldn't want to be the one who ties a knot round my neck.
Goodbye, Mr. Fishburne. Good evening, Mrs. Fish.
Of course. Just grow eyes in the back of that head, sir. What can I do for you?
Stella, I know you are ashamed of your son's crimes. So why do you protect Seymour?
I can't report my own son, can I? Not a burden I could bear.
Burden? How do you mean?
They'd hang him for sure. I won't send my only son to his death.
I understand your pain, but you cannot mother him forever.
If someone ever found the courage to speak to the police, I will take my share.
Your son's gone way beyond simply bullying people. He has a taste for blood, and you know it, don't you, Stella?
One night, he told me straight up, in his own words. It was several days after one of his episodes.
Why did he confess? Did you suspect something?
No. I guess he wanted his old mum to help him fight his, demons.
Did Seymour tell you everything that night?
More than I could stand. The words he used to describe his hate, his rage, how he feels when he's done it.
Tell me about these demons Seymour needs your help to fight.
Seymour used to be such a happy child, and he is still a helping son most of the time. But when he gets angry, he can hardly contain his rage.
All men and women are born innocent, Mrs. Fishburne. But there can be a monster within any of us.
Do you think he can be cured, Doctor? Do you think something can extinguish this rage inside my Seymour?
Science has only just begun to investigate the mysteries of the human mind. Currently, we have more assumptions than fact.
There ain't no hope, then. Somehow, Somewhere my son has turned into a monster, and nothing will bring him back.
Goodbye, Miss Fishburne. This is Braille. I need someone who can read this.
There's one of them vermin!
Are you all right, sir? What are you doing in a place like this?
I'm not sure that's any of your business.
I hope you realize that staying here will put your life at great risk.
Pah! I'm not afraid of these guards of Priwen, or whatever these thugs call themselves. I can still kick some respect into those youngsters.
I wasn't specifically referring to them, but are you really after these men? Why?
They took my boy! I've had no news since he joined that crazy gang. So I decided to come and find him myself, to get some answers.
I see. But as I said, your life is at risk if you stay here. And I'm not referring to the gangs either. You should leave, sir.
Well, this part of town used to be nicer, let's say. Perhaps you're right. This isn't the best way to save Andrew.
There is a name engraved under the blood on the back of the case. Jack Gillingham. Perhaps Enid's son.
You again. What are you...
Tell me about the man you killed, Booth. What happened?
One of us had been killed, so we had to retaliate. That's the whole story.
There has to be more to it than that.
No, really. One of us got killed, so the killer had to die. That's how things have always been done round here. No one gives a shit.
I think you're wrong. Maybe the docks have always been violent, but you can't say the living don't suffer because of it.
And then what? Let the commies and the anarchists rule? Nah. We're the wet boot boys. Our fathers died on these docks and they belong to us.
Do you know Edwina suspects you to be unfaithful?
Edwina's the one who asked to be called Mrs. Cox, even though Clay hadn't touched her for such a long time.
You have not answered my question.
She's a passionate woman. I've no doubt she'll shoot me down if I ever betray her, but that's not going to happen. I love her as she is.
Are you worried about...
I've heard rumors about...
Goodbye, Mr. Digby.
Someone's playing a right strange game. No, I'm gonna have to find out.
Good evening.
I am not.
Your
Bullets kill people.
What can you tell me about this district?
The East End Docks only knows one rule.
What can you tell me about the locals?
Most people would say that Sean Hampton and Tom Watts are good men who try to sort things out. But for me, the real boss around there was my best friend, Jack Gillingham.
Jack Gillingham, you say?
Everyone round here knew Jack. He was a rock. A mountain even. He feared nothing.
Your friend Jack has something to do with you fleeing to the contaminated area where I found you. I want to know more.
Jack is dead. That's all you need to know. Dead because of me. So much violence. So much sorrow. All of that because I refuse to be insulted again.
If you really believe you started all this mess, then face it. Take responsibility and stop hiding.
Jack told me once that a real hero does not seek the ordeal, for it is the ordeal itself that reveals the true hero. I now know he was right.
Do you have...
No. I tried to stay away.
Are you worried about the sanitaries?
Not really. I've spent so many days hiding to escape retaliation from the Wet Boot Boys. Now that there's so much chaos, they might forget about me.
Goodbye, Mr. Gray. Good evening, young.
There's no need...
I found this watch. It belonged to Miss Gillingham, but I thought you might find it useful.
That makes sense. She would have forgotten about the watch by the next day.
If you say so.
Take this for your trouble, Dr. Reed. I will not forget your gesture, I swear.
Have you heard any...
I heard he had a scam of his own.
Show me what you have. Good evening, Miss...
Of course. Sir?
Have you heard any...
I've never heard that name, but...
Enid, have you really no idea what happened to your son? No idea at all?
I've not seen Jack for so long. I lose track of time. Has something bad happened to him?
Jack is dead, Miss Gillingham.
Of course he's not. I've seen him. Tonight, in fact. Ever the joker, Dr. Tippets.
Are you what?
Too much no...
Enid...
I've not...
Jack is dead.
Of course.
Goodbye, Miss Gillingham.
If not, I'll find you something. Spotted! Watch out!
Step away.
is despicable.
Hypocrite. Maggots and liars.
Now everything seems under control, more or less.
Don't forget to keep an eye out for this garden. Something, sweetie. My guess is they're recruiting for some vengeance.
In the meantime, the boys are waiting for us.
This must be Clay Cox's knife. A fine blade. No wonder he wants it back. It's locked. I cannot enter.
Jesus,
I have found a gift from your wife.
In that case, you'll be properly rewarded, Doc. Clay Cox is a man of his word.
I hope that won't make me an accomplice to you.
Who knows what I might do now?
I'll leave you for now, Mr. Cox.
This is now my domain, young. I'd head back if I were you, sir. Crush the leech, boys! Shit! Lost it! Boom! Get them weapons ready! Watch it! It's a killer! Best turn around if I were you. Are you deaf? Over there! There's one of them. Cross the leech, boys!
So Prewen never left Doris's theatre after they invaded. They must be holding Edgar here in their new headquarters.
We have to stop!
Doris Fletcher was about to become a disaster. I'm getting close to having all the evidence.
Don't forget to check every door.
I can't believe I'm doing this.
He's mine! I'll take Bloody leech! One's near.
This is despicable.
Don't forget to check every door. Remember your vows, friend.
It's locked, all right. It's locked. Blood of a pure heart, garlic, blood of a king. I don't understand. Perhaps this is what McCullum drank. I had better keep that in mind. Edgar. Edgar, can you hear me?
Jonathan, is it really you?
Easy. Easy. Save your strength. I'm getting you out of here.
Don't try to spare me. As a physician, I know all too well when it's too late. Punctured lung, broken ribs, and internal bleeding. An accurate diagnosis, wouldn't you say?
Edgar, what happened?
They wanted me to confess. Beat me black and blue.
Jeffrey McCullum ambushed me at the Pembroke Hospital. He was convinced you and I were responsible for the Skull epidemic.
I never imagined that self-righteous fanatic would dare to attack us in the open. What became of him?
To prove him wrong, I let him go.
Really? You sure that was the wisest course of action?
Time will tell. The most intriguing part of his accusation was that you and I were the pawns of some ancient vampire.
William Marshall. Yes, they tortured me to make me confess the same nonsense.
I think you're hiding something, Edgar.
What do you mean?
William Marshall, for example. You speak of him as if you know him. How is that?
Jonathan, I cannot say I'm ready for another round of questions.
Why would the Guard of Priwen believe you and I created the vampire epidemic?
Maybe due to our profession. Because I offered you shelter in my hospital.
What can you tell me about William Marshall?
Not much. History paints the story he was the greatest knight who ever lived. Amongst the immortals, he had a yet greater legend.
Why is the Guard of Priwen so obsessed with him?
He was the only ancient vampire to escape the first great hunt launched by the Guard of Priwen in 1854. They believe he's an evil creature plotting his return.
Why would he deserve such a reputation?
I cannot say. The Brotherhood of St. Paul's Stole has next to no intelligence on him. All I know is that he's supposed to be the oldest of all the British vampires.
While investigating the epidemic, I read some of McCullum's findings. I think you have some explaining to do.
I have nothing to hide, Jonathan. Nothing at all.
Do you remember when we suspected Sean Hampton of killing Harriet Jones?
Yes. The terrible episode that came as a shock to us all.
Harriet Jones faked her own death. When I found her in the sewers, she confessed she wanted everybody to pay for what happened to her.
That woman was extremely bitter, full of hatred and festering anger.
Do you know Doris Fletcher's real name?
No, I'm afraid not.
Her real name was Doris Jones. She was the daughter of Harriet Jones.
What do you want me to say, Jonathan?
Doris Fletcher visited her mother at the Pembroke Hospital. That's how she first got infected.
I know nothing about that. Miss Fletcher once came to visit the sick. That is all I know.
No, Edgar, there is more. Doris Fletcher was Harriet Jones's daughter. They exhibited the same symptoms: blind hate and strong physical mutation.
What does this sad story have to do with us?
Come on, Edgar. Don't you see the pattern here? The epidemic, the link between Doris and Harriet, the suspicion of McCullum.
How could I? I never saw Harriet Jones again after she fled the hospital.
Do you know where we are? Doris Fletcher's theater. This is where that hateful creature plotted to spread the epidemic across London.
I only briefly met Miss Fletcher once when she visited the Pembroke Hospital. You say it was to see her mother. She seemed like such a sweet and graceful woman.
My point exactly. The disease turned her into a bitter soul, driven by vengeance just like her mother. A symptom of all the infected patients.
Certain diseases are known to produce similar effects. Rabies, for example. And rabies is not the devil at work.
Doris and Harriet shared more than a hidden family bond. They were the embodiment of the epidemic and are linked to the Pembroke Hospital. Come on, Edgar, this is no coincidence.
I swear I'm at a complete loss. All I did was administer vampire blood to cure old Harriet. There was no evil plan, no diabolical plot.
You did what?
I tested the regenerating and healing properties of vampire blood on Harriet Jones. My only intention was to find the cure for influenza, I swear.
Whose blood did you use? William Marshall's? Mine?
Lady Ashbury's. While transfusing her with human blood, humanely appeasing her hunger, I also kept samples of her blood for my research.
You used her blood on Harriet Jones? My God, Edgar, that's unethical. You betrayed 2 of your patients at the same time.
I made a mistake. But what is science if not trial and error? We both know it, Jonathan, we both know it.
What a poor justification for your morbid fascination and thirst for glory.
You have worked beside me. You saw what I'm doing at Pembroke Hospital. Jonathan, you know I'm not an evil soul. Just another victim of this tragedy.
Yes, Edgar, you're about to die. I won't say it's fair, but I can't say you don't deserve it.
Your words hurt deeply, Jonathan. For they come from a friend. I helped you, remember?
Yes, I remember.
The second I saw you in that bar, I knew we would accomplish great things, you and I.
I thought you were a vampire, until you brandished that cross.
You looked so lost when you opened that door. For a few seconds, I thought you were there to kill me.
I think we were both afraid.
And now, I feel true fear. Is there an afterlife? What will become of me when I'm dead, Dr. Reed?
I really cannot say, Dr. Swansea.
In the end, life betrays us all.
It's locked, all right. It's locked, all right. Return at a more convenient time.
Sir, no civilians allowed. Crush the leech, boys! Right, vermin! What's this? Here, leeches. Yo! Get free! I'll send you to hell. Filthy fucking bird! Die! I'll tell you! Want some of this?
can't believe I'm doing this. I have this thirst for blood. Good evening.
I won't.
Do you need medical
It's a little.
What can I say? I haven't lost my old habits.
I hope we.
Have you any news about Aloysius Dawson?
I was hoping he would finance my research. But I heard he's given all his money to the sick and poor.
Clarence, tell me about the vampire you saw in France.
I was enjoying my leave in Rouen. I left the bar, took a shortcut back to the barracks. I saw it in a back alley. An officer in a stained uniform, biting into a soldier's neck.
But you were drunk, weren't you? Are you sure these two men were not just kissing?
Please don't insult me, Johnny. I hid, and I saw him leave. Then I saw the body, drained of all blood. I've seen the same marks here in London since I've returned.
Did you ever see that officer again?
No. He wore the uniform of the Royal Warwickshire Regiment. I did some research, but found no trace of him. He probably stole it from a previous victim.
You need some rest.
Please, sir. Good evening, Dr. Reed. A great night, what?
Do you need medical help?
You would save my life, Dr. Reed. I have not felt so bad in many years.
Don't worry. There is nothing serious to fear. I have seen far worse, I can assure you.
I cannot imagine the pain these people must face, then. You have my gratitude, Doctor. This disease has ruined my appetite.
Have you any news on Aloysius Dawson?
I heard he died and gave all his money to the poor. Now that's a good man. An example for us all to follow.
Calhoun, tell me about your relationship with Doris Fletcher.
Oh, Doris. Cold fire and burning ice trapped in a perfect body. Our passion was as intense as it was brief. What an actress.
How did you meet her?
On a boat to France before the war. She was thinking about a career in Paris, and I was eager to try French gastronomy. We both returned disappointed.
I expect you've seen her on stage, too.
She really is the best actress of her generation. Such frailty and such strength at the same time. I hope she'll play again soon. She's been away for too long.
You sound Surprisingly sad. Have you regrets?
I think of her as a divine dish. I'm glad I was able to taste it, but I regret I could only get a bite of her mystery.
You really loved her then?
She fascinated me, Dr. Reed. I can't imagine what she must have endured through her life to reach such a level of emotion and sensibility.
I may have a look.
Sir, you are not welcome.
Good evening, Mr.
Good evening.
Tell me, Tadao. What?
I don't know. We...
Goodbye, Mr. Com...
Is there anything to connect me to this?
Hello, Venus.
Hello, Jonathan. I'm so sorry for your loss, Jonathan.
Have you any reason?
The old goat gave all his money to the poor.
Do you need my medical attention?
It would...
I will see you later. Goodbye for now. Good evening.
And good...
Why do you still hope to become a vampire, in spite of your mother's refusal?
It's the immortal aspect of vampires that interests me. The world won't improve unless women take charge. I'm convinced of that.
You're obviously a clever woman with a good education and a brilliant future. But have you thought about the price you'd have to pay? The loneliness, the necessary masquerade.
Is it not true of every high position? To change this world and make it a better place, one needs time on one's side.
Tell me, Charlotte, how do you plan to achieve eternal life, since you've obviously given it a lot of thought?
I won't give up. You have no idea how determined I am, sir. I may contract a deadly disease. I may throw myself under a carriage, just to be saved by her sweet kiss.
That's a disturbing answer, young lady. And the worst part of it is, I know you speak the truth.
There are less dangerous ways, Doctor. Instead of throwing myself under a horse like Emily Davison, I could just throw myself into your arms.
Be careful what you wish for, young lady. I could gaze at you right now and then take you to a shady corner and have my way with you. And leave your carcass to the rats.
You wouldn't dare. My mother would know. She'd never forgive you.
How could she suspect me? Do you know how many vampires are lurking in the city tonight as we speak? Vampires with a worse sense of humor than mine.
Oh, my God. For one second, I thought you actually... Excellent, Dr. Reed. Very convincing.
Your mother has refused to turn you into a vampire. Tell me more about it.
Each time we argue, Mother expresses the same fear. She wants me to remain alive and full of joy, rather than become melancholy and immortal. She claims you can't have one without the other. It's pure selfishness.
Your mother has walked this earth for much longer than you or I. She is wise, and we should not ignore her advice when we disagree with it.
But why shouldn't I be allowed to forge my own experience? There can't be only one righteous way to deal with eternity.
It's your mother's choice. As daughters and sons, we have to accept the decisions our parents make for us despite our own wishes.
I love my mother, and have accepted everything from her. Even that she named me Charlotte, when it was not my original name.
Does it bother you?
No. Whoever I was when I was born, I am now Charlotte Ashbury. It hurts as much as it makes me proud to know that's the name my mother will read on my tombstone.
What is your opinion?
It seems the old sod get...
Goodbye, Charlotte.
She's been quite busy.
Remember, don't let any strangers come into your house.
Yes?
Do you know my mother speaks to the dead members of this family?
Yes. I sometimes hear her speaking to you, Miss Mary, and her baby. Sometimes your father, too.
So she thinks I'm also dead. And what about you?
I believe she only sees her relatives as the dead she speaks to, Mr. Jonathan. It breaks my heart to see Miss Reed like that.
My mother is gone, Avery. Whatever illusions have clouded her mind, they are too deeply rooted for any hope of recovery.
I beg to differ, Mr. Jonathan. Your mother has always been strong. She will get better with time.
Goodbye, Avery.
Of course. If you wish to stay tonight, your room is ready, Mr. Jonathan.
I remember Sunday walks in the park.
Oh, my dear daughter.
Hello.
Jonathan!
Father seems to have left me some documents. Some sort of treasure hunt game. Do you know anything about them?
No, Johnny. But your father always loved to write these little games for you when you were a boy. Don't you remember?
I remember now. He used to post me these riddles, as though they were sent by a mysterious games master. I'd spend weeks trying to decipher them.
Your father was always so proud each time you found the answer. He was not just the serious doer banker everybody thought he was.
I was proud too. How could I forget that?
The important thing is that you remember it now. I'll tell your father the next time I see him. He'll be so happy.
Could Father have conceived some sort of final game for me before he left?
I really can't say, Johnny. Perhaps you should talk with Avery about that. He was your father's confidant, more than I.
Why do you say...
Why should it be?
But Mary really...
Yes.
Goodbye, Mother.
Goodbye, son.
Yes, Jonathan. Spending...
Hello again.
Jonathan!
Do you need...
Oh,
I think you...
I'm not sure.
Goodbye, Mother. Try to rest now.
Goodbye, son.
Yes, Jonathan. Spending next summer in France. Absolutely. Why not?
Yet?
I found an old letter written by my father and addressed to me. Do you know anything about it, Avery?
Your father wanted me to give you this letter for your 35th birthday, but you left for the war, and the letter remained in his office until tonight.
I realize now you knew my father better than I did. Do you know why he left, Avery? Did he ever speak to you about his departure?
No, sir. Mr. Reed was not exactly forthcoming. Perhaps this letter will give you the information you require.
Goodbye, Avery.
Of course.
Women die too in this war.
London has brought so much pain.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Tell me.
I don't know.
Yes,
Star.
you're right.
Protect.
Pegasus. It was the constellation my mother liked the most.
Memory's a strange thing. I can recite without hesitation the names of the 88 constellations, yet I barely remember my own childhood.
Do you need medical assistance?
Don't believe that I...
There is no need.
Yes.
Have you?
In his last...
Goodbye, Mr. Kimura. Take care.
Is there anything to connect me to this city anymore?
Hello, Venus.
Hello. I'm so sorry for your loss, Jonathan. What do you...
Do you need my med...
It would have...
And I'm happy.
Thank...
Goodbye for now.
At least you survived the Great War. I think...
Support the equality between men and women.
Over there! There's one of them vermin! Die, vermin! Want some? It ain't human!
What good fortune brings you back to me, Jonathan? What is it, my dear?
I'm afraid it's bad news, Elizabeth. The worst, actually.
Please, speak up.
Edgar is no longer in McCullum's grasp. I resolved that matter.
Where is our good friend now? Is he well?
He was mortally wounded. I put an end to his misery.
That is terrible, Jonathan. And yet you did what you must. The poor man.
Edgar Swansea was responsible for the Skull epidemic, Elizabeth. It was he who unleashed the deadly scourge upon London.
What? Are you certain? This is the most terrible accusation of all.
He confessed everything to me. He sought to cure the disease, to exploit vampire blood to stop the epidemic. but he unwittingly gave birth to a catastrophe.
All those poor victims. How could he do it? What happened?
Edgar gave no heed to ethics. His theory could have been proven to be correct, but he abused the confidence of his patients to test it.
I must say I'm shocked, Jonathan. Who would have thought it? And the poor patient. Let me guess. It was Harriet Jones, was it not?
Yes. That explains how Doris Fletcher was infected, and how she became an Ichor. She secretly visited her mother at Pembroke.
Then we have no choice. We must act quickly, Jonathan. We must return to the sewers and put an end to the threat poor Harriet embodies.
I have one more matter to discuss with you. Harriet Jones was the primary case, but do you know what a healthy carrier is?
There is a tone in your voice that frightens me, Jonathan. What are you trying to say?
It was your blood Edgar used for his experiment on Harriet Jones.
What? No. No. This can't be. Oh.
Elizabeth, are you all right?
No, I have to go.
What do you mean?
Leave me alone. Save the city, Jonathan. Save what can be saved.
Elizabeth, I need answers. Why did your blood
Stay
cause
away
this?
from me. Please. I swear I never was your enemy.
Wait! No! Elizabeth! Now would be a good time to blend the recipe Marshall used when he fought the disaster. I think I know where to find what I need. Whose blood could be purer than that of William Marshall? Lord Redgrave will have to spare me a drop. I'm still persona non grata in the Ascalon Club. If I want to speak with Lord Redgrave, I'll have to improvise. Good evening, Lord Redgrave.
What are you doing here, traitor? I shall smite you for this audacity.
I'm not here to bicker, Lord Redgrave. I can put an end to this epidemic, but I need your assistance to do so.
Good. We've held out thus far, but the time has come to put an end to this crisis. Tell me, what do you need?
The blood of William Marshall.
The blood of William Marshall? Of my maker? Are you mad? This blood is the purest of all. My maker proffered it to me on the battlefield. I cannot hand it to you.
This is more important than the club, you, or me. This is London's last hope.
I see. Well, in that case, given the gravity of the situation, I suppose I can spare you a drop.
Thank you, my lord.
If you manage to save this city, you'll prove yourself a veritable servant of the crown. So Godspeed, Dr. Reed. Our fate lies wholly in your hands.